Taxonomy, systematics, and evolution. The kingfisher family Alcidinidae is in the order Coraciformes, which also includes the motmits, bee-eaters, toadies, rollers, and ground rollers. 1. The name of the family was introduced as Alcidia by the French polymath Constantin Samuel Rafinesque in 1815. 3. It is divided into 3 subfamilies: the tree kingfishers Halcyinae, the river kingfishers Alcidinae, and the water kingfishers Cerulinae. 1. The name Daceloninae is sometimes used for the tree kingfisher subfamily, but it was introduced by Charles Lucy and Bonaparte in 1841, while Halcyinae, introduced by Nicholas Aylward Vigors in 1825, is earlier and has priority. For a few taxonomists elevate the 3 subfamilies to family status. 5-6. In spite of the word kingfisher in their English vernacular names, many of these birds are not specialist fish eaters. None of the species in Halcyinae are. 7. The scientific name is derived from Greek mythology and the ancient belief that the birds nested in the open sea, and called them Hawkins, Latin halcyon from Hals sea and kinborn. In Greek mythology, the gods gave the Hawkins the ability to calm the waters when nesting. In Greek mythology, one of the Pleiades named Alcyone Altseto in Latin married Cex, who was killed in a shipwreck. Alcyone drowned herself in grief, and the gods revived them both as kingfishers. 8. The phylogenetic relationship between the kingfishers and the other 5 families that make up the order Coraciformes is shown in the cladogram below. 9, 10, 11. The number of species in each family is taken from the list maintained by Frank Gill, Pamela C. Rasmussen, and David Donsker on behalf of the International Ornithological Committee (IOC). 12. The center of kingfisher diversity is the Australasian realm, but the group originated in the Indomalayan region around 27 million years ago and invaded the Australasian realm a number of times. 13 fossil kingfishers have been described from Lower Eocene rocks in Wyoming and Middle Eocene rocks in Germany, around 30 to 40 mia. More recent fossil kingfishers have been described in the Miocene rocks of Australia 5 to 25 mia. Several fossil birds have been erroneously ascribed to the kingfishers, including Halcyornis, from the Lower Eocene rocks in Kent, which has also been considered a gull, but is now thought to have been a member of an extinct family. 14. Amongst the 3 subfamilies, the Alcidinae are basal to the other 2 subfamilies. The few species found in the Americas, all from the subfamily Cerulinae, suggest that the sparse representation in the Western Hemisphere resulted from just 2 original colonizing events. The subfamily is a comparatively recent split from the Halcyinae, diversifying in the Old World as recently as the Miocene or Pliocene. 15. The following cladogram is based on a molecular phylogenetic study published in 2017. Description: the smallest species of kingfisher as the African dwarf kingfisher is Spidina lecante, which averages 10 centimeters, 3.9 in length, and between 9 and 12 grams, 0.32 and 0.42 ounces in weight. 16. The largest kingfisher, Africa, is the giant kingfisher Megaceral maxima, which is 42 to 46 centimeters, 17 to 18 in length, and 255 to 426 g, 9.0 to 15.0 ounces in weight. 17. The common Australian kingfisher, known as the laughing Cucabra Dicello novaguinea, is the heaviest species, with females reaching nearly 500 g, 18 ounces in weight. 18. The plumage of most kingfishers is bright, with green and blue being the most common colors. The brightness of the colors is neither the product of iridescence except in the American kingfishers or pigments, but is instead caused by the structure of the feathers, which causes scattering of blue light, the Tyndall effect. 19. In most species, no overt differences between the sexes exist. When differences occur, they are quite small, less than 10%. 14. The kingfishers have long, dagger-like bills. The bill is usually longer and more compressed in species that hunt fish, and shorter and more broad in species that hunt prey off the ground. The largest and most atypical bill is that of the shovel-billed Cucabra, which is used to dig through the forest floor in search of prey. They generally have short legs, Although species that feed on the ground have longer tarsi, most species have 4 toes, 3 of which are forward-pointing and fused towards the base syndactyl to some extent. 8. The irises of most species are dark brown. The kingfishers have excellent vision. They are capable of binocular vision and are thought in particular to have good color vision. They have restricted movement of their eyes within the eye sockets, instead using head movements to track prey. In addition, they are capable of compensating for the refraction of water and reflection when hunting prey underwater, and are able to judge depth underwater accurately. They also have nictitating membranes that cover the eyes to protect them when they hit the water. The pied kingfisher has a bony plate, which slides across the eye when it hits the water. 14. The kingfishers have a cosmopolitan distribution, occurring throughout the world's tropical and temperate regions. They are absent from the polar regions and some of the world's driest deserts. Several species have reached islands groups, particularly those in the South and East Pacific Ocean. The Old World tropics and Australasia are the core areas for this group. Europe and North America north of Mexico are very poorly represented, with only one common kingfisher and belted kingfisher, respectively, and 2 uncommon or very local species each, ringed kingfisher and green kingfisher, the southwestern United States, pied kingfisher, and white-throated kingfisher in southeastern Europe. The 6 species occurring in the Americas are 4 closely related green kingfishers in the genus Chloroceryle and 2 large crested kingfishers in the genus Megaceryle. Even tropical South America has only 5 species plus the wintering belted kingfisher. In comparison, the African country of the Gambia has 8 resident species in its 120 by 20 mile, 193 by 32 kilometers area. 14. Individual species may have massive ranges, like the common kingfisher, which ranges from Ireland across Europe, North Africa, and Asia as far as the Solomon Islands in Australasia, or the pied kingfisher, which has a widespread distribution across Africa and Asia. Other species have much smaller ranges, particularly insular species, which are endemic to single small islands. The Koh Fiao paradise kingfisher is restricted to the island of Koh Fiao off New Guinea. 14. Kingfishers occupy a wide range of habitats. While they are often associated with rivers and lakes, over half the world's species are found in forests and forested streams. They also occupy a wide range of other habitats. The red-backed kingfisher of Australia lives in the driest deserts, although kingfishers are absent from other dry deserts like the Sahara. Other species live high in mountains or in open woodland, and a number of species live on tropical coral atolls. Numerous species have adapted to human-modified habitats, particularly those adapted to woodlands, and may be found in cultivated and agricultural areas, as well as parks and gardens in towns and cities. Diet and feeding: kingfisher catching fish, eating, defecating, and flying in Kervema, Estonia, October 2022. Kingfishers feed on a wide variety of prey. They are most famous for hunting and eating fish, and some species do specialize in catching fish, but other species take crustaceans, frogs and other amphibians, annelid worms, mollusks, insects, spiders, centipedes, reptiles including snakes, and even birds and mammals. Individual species may specialize in a few items or take a wide variety of prey, and for species with large global distributions, different populations may have different diets. Woodland and forest kingfishers take mainly insects, particularly grasshoppers, whereas the water kingfishers are more specialized in taking fish. The red-backed kingfisher has been observed hammering into the mud nests of fairy martins to feed on their nestlings. 20 kingfishers usually hunt from an exposed perch. When a prey item is observed, the kingfisher swoops down to snatch it, then returns to the perch. Kingfishers of all 3 families beat larger prey against a perch to kill the prey and to dislodge or break protective spines and bones. Having beaten the prey, it is manipulated and then swallowed. 14. Sometimes, a pellet of bones, scales, and other indigestible debris is coughed up. 21. The shovel-billed kookaburra uses its massive, wide bill as a shovel to dig for worms in soft mud. Breeding kingfishers are territorial, some species defending their territories vigorously. They are generally monogamous, although cooperative breeding has been observed in some species and is quite common in others. 14. For example, the laughing kookaburra, where helpers aid the dominant breeding pair in raising the young. 22. Like all core sea forms, the kingfishers are cavity nesters, as well as tree nesters, with most species nesting in holes dug in the ground. These holes are usually in earth banks on the sides of rivers, lakes, or man-made ditches. Some species may nest in holes in trees, the earth clinging to the roots of an uprooted tree, or arboreal nests of termites termitarium. These termite nests are common in forest species. The nests take the form of a small chamber at the end of a tunnel. Nest digging duties are shared between the sexes. During the initial excavations, the bird may fly at the chosen site with considerable force, and birds have injured themselves fatally while doing this. The length of the tunnels varies by species and location. Nests in termitaria are necessarily much shorter than those dug into the earth, and nests in harder substrates are shorter than those in soft soil or sand. The longest tunnels recorded are those of the giant kingfisher, which have been found to be 8.5 meters, 28 feet long. 14. The eggs of kingfishers are invariably white. The typical clutch size varies by species. Some of the very large and very small species lay as few as 2 eggs per clutch, whereas others may lay 10 eggs. The typical is around 3 to 6 eggs. Both sexes incubate the eggs. The offspring of the kingfisher usually stay with the parents for 3 to 4 months. 14. Status and conservation. The rufous-collared kingfisher is categorized as near-threatened due to the rapid loss of its rainforest habitat. A number of species are considered threatened by human activities and are in danger of extinction. Most of these are forest species with limited distribution, particularly insular species. They are threatened by habitat loss caused by forest clearance or degradation, and in some cases, by introduced species. The Marquesan kingfisher of French Polynesia is listed as critically endangered due to a combination of habitat loss and degradation caused by introduced cattle, and possibly due to predation by introduced species. 23. Kingfishers are a family, the Alcedinidae, of small to medium-sized, brightly colored birds in the order Coryciformes. They have a cosmopolitan distribution, with most species living in the tropical regions of Africa, Asia, and Oceania, but also can be found in Europe and the Americas. They can be found in deep forests near compounds and small rivers. The family contains 118 species and is divided into 3 subfamilies and 19 genera. All kingfishers have large heads, long, sharp, pointed bills, short legs, and stubby tails. Most species have bright plumage with only small differences between the sexes. Most species are tropical in distribution, and a slight majority are found only in forests. They consume a wide range of prey, usually caught by swooping down from a perch. While kingfishers are usually thought to live near rivers and eat fish, many species live away from water and eat small invertebrates. Like other members of their order, they nest in cavities, usually tunnels dug into the natural or artificial banks in the ground. Some kingfishers nest in arboreal termite nests. A few species, principally insular forms, are threatened with extinction. In Britain, the word kingfisher normally refers to the common kingfisher.